If you ever built a Power App, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your form starts out nice and clean, but then you add one more field, and then another, and before you know it, you've got this monster scroll. It's a total nightmare for your users. Well, today we are going to tame that monster. I'm going to show you exactly how to build clean, professional, and super user-friendly tabbed forms that your users will absolutely love.
So here's the game plan for leveling up your app skills. First, we'll really nail down why long forms are such a pain. Then, we'll build the classic tab solution from scratch. Seriously, this is the foundational knowledge every great Power Apps dev needs. After that, we'll jump on the fast track with the awesome new modern controls. We'll even get into the nitty-gritty, like handling required fields. And I'll wrap up with a couple of pro tips to make your app look seriously polished.
All right, let's dive right in. We've all seen them, and let's be honest, we probably all built them. The form of doom. It's just this wall of fields and dropdowns that seems to go on forever. For a user, that's not just messy, it's intimidating. They get lost, they make mistakes, and sometimes they just give up. Our mission here is to turn that chaos into a clean, simple, and guided experience.
This slide just says it all, right? That before and after is exactly what we're going for. On the left, you've got the user's nightmare. On the right, you have the elegant solution. By grouping related info into tabs, we're not just making it look prettier, we're actually guiding the user through the process one logical step at a time. This is huge for efficiency and for getting good, clean data. So let's get into how you actually build this thing.
Okay, so here's a little secret that might surprise you. Power Apps doesn't actually have a built-in, out-of-the-box tab control. You can't just drag one from the menu. For years, this has been a classic challenge, and clever developers figured out some really ingenious ways to build their own using a few basic controls. We're about to crack open that playbook and learn the original, foundational technique.
All right, let's roll up our sleeves and build this the classic way. Now, this method is the bedrock for so many custom things in Power Apps. It uses a gallery and some buttons, but the real magic is in the logic. You know, mastering this doesn't just teach you how to build tabs, it really teaches you how to think like a Power Apps pro. The whole process is actually way simpler than it sounds when you break it down. First, we use a gallery as a container for our tabs. Second, we basically feed it a list of our tab names. Third, we drop a button inside so people can actually click on them. And then the last two steps, well, that's the secret sauce. We use a variable to remember which tab was clicked, and then we tell our form fields when to show up. Let's look at the code that makes it all happen.
First things first, our gallery needs to know what tabs to show. We do that with this simple table function. Don't let the code fool you, just think of it like we're creating a tiny little spreadsheet right inside our app. Each row has a unique ID, that's going to be the key to all our logic, and a label, which is just the text the user will see on the tab. Simple as that. This right here, this is the magic moment. When a user clicks a tab, we have to remember which one they picked. We do that in the button's onSelect property. This one little line of code creates a variable, think of it like a piece of short-term memory for the app, and we store the ID of the clicked tab right inside it. From this point on, the app knows which tab is active.
And here is where we use that memory. For every single field that belongs on that first general tab, we go to its visible property, and we just write a simple test. Does our variable equal 1? If it does, the property is true, and bam, the field appears. If it doesn't, it's false, and it stays hidden. You just repeat this for each tab. var tab clicked equals 2 for the second tab, var tab clicked equals 3 for the third, and so on. It's such an elegant and powerful way to control your entire user interface. So that classic method is fantastic. And seriously, it teaches you so much about how Power Apps really works under the hood. But you have to admit, it's a few moving parts to put together. What if there was a faster way? Well, guess what? Now there is. Let's take a look at the modern control that just streamlines this whole process.
For years, the developer community was practically begging for a dedicated tab control, and Microsoft finally delivered. As part of the new Modern Controls feature, they've given us the tab list. Now, this isn't some workaround. It's a purpose-built tool designed to do one thing and do it really, really well, and it saves us a ton of setup time.
I mean, this slide really says it all, doesn't it? The classic method is like getting a flat pack from IKEA. You've got all the parts, and you have to assemble it yourself. The modern method is like getting the finished piece of furniture delivered. The tabless control handles all that complexity of managing items and tracking selections for you. Our job just got a whole lot easier. Now look at this. The visibility logic is pretty much the same idea, but notice how much cleaner it is. Instead of creating and checking our own variable, we just talk directly to the tabless control itself. We just ask it, hey, What's your selected value? If it matches the text general, the field becomes visible. It's just way more direct and so much easier to read.
All right, our tabs look amazing. But looking good is only half the battle. Now we've got to make it actually work. How do we save the data from all these different tabs? And more importantly, how do we handle errors when the user can't even see the field that's causing the problem? Let's solve that right now.
This is the one question that every single developer asks after they build a tabbed UI for the first time. Logically, you have one form, but you spread all its fields across different views. How in the world do you make a single Save button smart enough to gather everything up and submit it?
This slide lays out a really key decision you have to make. Think of it like this. If all of your fields are living in one big house, that is, a single form control, then the standard submit form function works perfectly. It knows where to find everything. But if you've put your fields in different rooms, maybe separate containers or even multiple forms, then you need to use the patch function. Patch is like going from room to room, gathering up all the data, and then saving it. The first way is definitely easier, but the second one gives you a lot more control.
And here it is, the single biggest user experience trap with tabbed forms. Just imagine there's a required field on tab 1. Your user fills everything out, they get all the way to tab 3, they click save, and nothing happens. The app knows the form is invalid, but the user has no idea why because they can't see that little red error message on the hidden tab. This is incredibly frustrating.
So how do we fix this mess? We have to give the user clear feedback. And there are two great ways to do it. First, we can make the Save button smart. By setting its display mode property based on the forms.valid property, the button will actually stay grayed out and disabled until every single required field on every single tab is filled out. Another great approach is to only show the Save button on the very last tab. This naturally guides the user through the whole form before they can even try to submit.
Okay, our form is now fully functional, it's solid, it handles errors gracefully. Now for the fun part, the polish. These are those little professional touches that take it out from being just good to being great, and they show you really care about the details.
Here's a super simple styling trick that has a huge visual payoff. By default, the tabs in that classic method are just boring rectangles. But if you go into the button's radius properties, you can round just the top 2 corners. This instantly gives them the look and feel of a real file folder tab. It is such a tiny detail, but it makes the whole interface feel so much more intuitive.
A truly professional app has to work everywhere, from a huge desktop monitor to a tiny phone screen. And this slide shows a simple little formula for responsive design. With a single if statement, we can tell our tabs, hey, be wide on a big screen, but get narrow on a small one. This one line of code makes sure your tab layout is clean and usable, no matter what device your user is on.
So we've spent all this time focused on how tabs can organize the content inside a single form, but the principle behind it, breaking down a really complex process into clear, manageable steps, is an incredibly powerful design philosophy. So I'll leave you with this question. How can you take this same thinking and use it not just to fix a form, but to completely reimagine and simplify your entire application's workflow?